Another 2 weeks have passed, which means we are 2 weeks closer to the grand opening of Universal Epic Universe in Orlando, Florida. As always, there is a number of incredible changes inside of the park, from the Kronos Tower beginning to get its top at the park entrance, to the large character head ready to be installed behind Minecart Madness, and all of the Viking ships are now painted in How to Train Your Dragon Isle of Burk. All of this and more on this week's Universal Epic Universe Construction Update. As always, a big thank you to BioReconstruct for his amazing aerial views of the construction progress of Epic Universe. Without further ado, let's jump into this week's Universal Epic Universe Construction Update. Starting off in the back of Epic Universe, at the on-site 500-room hotel of Helios Grand, where the sunburst theming element we saw last update on the ground has been lifted into place and is installed overlooking Epic Universe surrounding the other theming element that we saw installed a couple of updates ago. The roof of the hotel is once again the epicenter of the majority of the construction progress this update. The center dome on top of the rooftop bar and lounge has had the underlayment completed, and now workers can be seen installing some sort of metal framing for the next layer. A third smaller dome has been installed next to the ballroom that is identical to the other two on the opposite side of the hotel. The large ballroom windows have also been installed since our last update. On the lounge side of the hotel, there has been a new celestial themed element placed on one of the columns. In front of the hotel, one of the two large tower cranes have been removed. This indicates that the heavy lifting on the Dark Universe side of the hotel has been complete. Only the Wizarding World side tower crane remains. On ground level, the lobby entrance overhang frame has been installed. In the pool area, the plumbing for the pool has been completed and is beginning to be buried in preparation for the concrete pool deck. Opposite the pool side, the Epic Universe side of the hotel, near the resort's dedicated entrance into Epic Universe, more trees have been planted around the base of the hotel tower. Moving to the highly anticipated Super Nintendo World, just outside of the land's exit, we can begin to see concrete curbs of the pathway beginning to take shape. One of these curbs lines up with the garden on the side of the entry portal. This could very well become a smaller garden on a slower level. Guests enter through the upper level of the Mushroom Kingdom, walking through Peach's Castle, where 2 of the 4 turrets are nearing completion of having the initial base theming completed. Throughout the entire land, we can see hiding behind the rooftops framing for animated figures, which will move back and forth across the rooftops. At Bowser's Fortress, we can see several more areas of oversized blocks through the scaffolding. Soon, the scaffolding should be removed in this area. Next to the exit to the Mario Kart ride, we can see the elevator, which will allow access to the lower levels of the Mushroom Kingdom, including the entrance to Donkey Kong Country for the guests that may need it. This elevator on the lower level will be accessed behind Toadstool Cafe. Speaking of Toadstool Cafe, the theming along the lower levels of this structure is continuing. Around Mount Beanpole, along the Yoshi's Adventure ride, there are several new theming elements that have appeared, which includes a new plant, as well as a fully themed wall, as well lastly, a newly installed animated tree at the base of Mount Beanpole. Behind the Mushroom Kingdom sits Donkey Kong Country, where once again has seen the most progress in all of Super Nintendo World. On the walls separating Donkey Kong Country and the Mushroom Kingdom, the themed walls are beginning to be installed along the rooftops. Just past the entrance to Donkey Kong Country, guests will run into the tracks of Minecart Madness, where we can see a spiked obstacle beginning to appear through the scaffolding that the minecarts will jump over along the tracks. Further along down the tracks, several areas of golden pathway have been poured since the last update. Inside of these walkways are shaped openings, where it is likely we will see some sort of overgrown garden or temple theming in these areas. In this area of walkway sits the bubbly barrel snack stand, where the roof trusses have been finished. Soon we should start to see the straw roofing installed on this stand. Funky's Fly and Buy gift shop has seen the first pieces of steel framing installed as well. This gift shop will be the home of the crashed plane, which we have seen in all of the renderings thus far. Between Donkey Kong Country and the future expansion site sits a concrete pathway that is ready to be poured. This will likely be a back-of-house pathway, given the straight nature of the forms. On top of the coaster building, above the lift hill, new green-shaped walls have been installed. These walls are identical to the ones that are being installed on the backside of the Mushroom Kingdom, which separates the two lands. Behind this coaster building, we can see the oversized golden character head laying on the ground staged where the barrel was staged a few months ago. This means we are getting closer to seeing that head installed above the waterfall. In the neighboring land of Dark Universe, the forest continues to grow all throughout the land. Just behind the entry portal, after guests make their way through the headstone graveyard, we can see a spiked fence similar to the fence found by the manor. One large difference is that near the portal, there is only one small section of fence. This section also looks as though it has been placed a long time ago and the forest has overgrown around it. Between the tracks of Curse the Werewolf spinning roller coaster and the back of the Oaken Star Tavern, several new trees have been planted as a visual barrier for guests on the coaster. The majority of the progress made around Dark Universe this update has been around the manor, which houses the feature ride. Inside of the gatehouse courtyard, a mobile crane has been parked facing the manor. This crane is likely for installing the remaining roof details along the roofline. Looking below the bridge, just past the gatehouse, we can see a themed gate leaning against the bridge. This gate looks to be the same width as the opening to the gatehouse, where guests enter the queue for the feature ride. This themed gate is not the only one visible this update. There's another gate already installed above the front door of the manor, painted and all. Behind the manor, in the outdoor queue area, we can see several of the bollards and chain have been installed since last update. We can see where those bollards will be located in the queue and will likely see the remaining installed by our next update. Between the outdoor queue area and Burning Blades Tavern, there have been a couple of very interesting twisty trees planted that match the theming of Dark Universe perfectly. Lastly, behind Burning Blades, where the back of house building is located, the remaining walls have been installed, and now there is roofing material staged on the roof. Directly across Celestial Park from Dark Universe sits the new Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Ministry of Magic, where the Parisian streets continue to receive detailed work. Behind the entry portal to the land, new walls have been constructed that will funnel guests left or right, directly getting out of the portal. These walls add to the reveal of the replica arch that guests travel through before entering the streets of Paris. Near the front of the land, several large trees have been planted, which helps hide the service buildings from guests within the land. Along the rooftops, the collection of chimney pots are ever growing and are getting closer to being 100% completed. At ground level, inside of the 5th Street intersection, the pouring of concrete on the streets continues as additional framing for the tent in front of the theater show has been installed. Behind the feature ride of the land, in the extended queue area, additional framing has been installed as well as smaller pieces of frame. This queue area is beginning to look like some sort of bus stop or train station. With the smaller framing near one of the doors, it appears the roof will be glass or some sort of translucent top. From the land of wizards to the land full of dragons in How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Burk, there is a number of changes to once again go over in this faraway land. As guests enter the land, they are met by the large lagoon, where the third Viking ship has been painted and the sails have been installed. Work around Spitfire Grill continues, especially near the bathrooms, where a wood fence is starting to be installed to separate the land from the back of house areas of Epic Universe. In the shadows of Spitfire Grill sits the target boat ride of Fire Drill, where 9 boats are now inside of the ride track. 4 of the boats are inside of the load station, while the other 5 are inside of the service canal. Currently, though, the lagoon has been drained while work around the walls continues. Inside of the queue, one of the pathways has been poured with concrete. Closer to the load station of the ride, concrete still needs to be poured. The statues in front of Mead Hall have sat idle since the scaffolding was removed around them a few updates ago. Directly in front of those statues are pots, which inside look like they will have some sort of fire effect in them. Inside of the village around Mead Hall, new roofing elements have been placed on the small village buildings. These elements look like they could be possible locations for dragons or dragon houses. Above one of the other structures inside of the village, 2 new dragon houses have been installed high above the scaffolding. Inside of Dragon Racers Rally, there are a number of posts staged on the ground, which are likely for the grandstand construction and for Viking training camp. The entrance to the queue for Dragon Racers Rally looks to be completely sculpted and ready for paint. The new details have been installed above the box seats on the grandstands that Hiccup's wing glider flies through around the track. The load station from Hiccup's wing glider continues to receive shingles on the roof. The backside of the roof has been completed, and now the front side closest to the queue is beginning to receive shingles. Inside of the first launch of the coaster, we can see one of the feet of what we believe to be as Toothless is visible, while the remainder of the body is still underneath of the red covering. Near the front of the land, at the children's play area of Viking Training Camp, more of the structure for the playhouse has been installed. Several sections of this frame are already painted, where others still needs some sort of theming. As we leave the faraway land of the Isle of Burk, we launch into outer space in the central hub of Epic Universe of Celestial Park. In the shadows of Helios Grand Hotel sits the Blue Dragon Pan-Asian restaurant, where new roof theming elements have been installed front and center, as well as on the ends of the restaurant. Between the scaffolding, we can begin to see a lot of graphics being painted on the side of the building. Just across the walkway to the Blue Dragon is the main show fountain at Epic Universe, which is thought to hold nightly shows. The concrete seating and stairs around this fountain appears to be about halfway complete, as the bottom walkway is being prepared for concrete near the children's splash pad of Astronomica. Inside of the waterfall that feeds the fountain, there have been some blue tiles installed that matches the tiles found in both water features near Constellation Carousel and Atlantic Restaurant. In addition to the concrete prep around the show fountain, there is additional concrete prep taking place inside of Astronomica as well. Meteor Astropub has seen the rotunda beginning to be walled in, as well as the roof has begun to receive underlayment in preparation for final roofing. At the dueling launch coaster of Starfall Racers, scaffolding has been reinstalled at the Comet theming element at the front of the coaster building. The supports for the scaffolding have been placed far away from the tracks to allow ride testing to continue. The pathway guests will use to access the coaster is beginning to take shape, with the curbing of the pathway now present. Just past the entrance tunnel to the coaster, we can see curbing as well for the ride's exit back into Celestial Park. All around the coaster building, there have been additional trees planted as well. Behind the coaster building, in the extended queue area, the majority of the curbing has been formed, which gives us a good idea of the layout of the queue. Inside of the second water feature, additional water nozzles have been installed. Looking closer to the base of the ribs of Constellation Carousel, we can see interesting outlines around each of the ribs. It is unclear what these outlines will be, but we should be able to find out very soon. The exterior ribs of Constellation Carousel have continued to receive gold paint. Several look to be completely painted towards the bottom of the steel. A little walk from the exit of Constellation Carousel, Celeste Tiki Bar has received roofing underlayment in preparation for its final roof. The entrance courtyard for the Oaken Star Tavern is beginning to show its shape as the outside curbing around the large tree has been formed. Next to the How to Train Your Dragon portal, the two new quick service dining locations continue to get work completed in preparation for the walls to go vertical and fully enclose this structure. Next to these two new dining locations is the cascading waterfalls that greets guests as they enter Celestial Park. Just off to the side of these waterfalls, the kiosk that was being constructed last update has had all of its framing installed. At the top of these waterfalls sits Luna Overlook, which offers fantastic views of all of Celestial Park, as well as a unique view of the waterfalls and Atlantic Restaurant. New concrete forms are beginning to show up around Luna Overlook. Just before guests make it to Luna Overlook, they walk through the Kronos Tower, which has begun to receive the tower on top of the portal which gives Kronos its name. Near the entrance to Epic Universe, there are several sections of spiral staircase staged on the ground, which are likely the stairs to the VIP area on the second level of the park entrance. On the ground behind these sections of stairs, the rockwork appears to have started to be painted. Between the two security plaza coverings, there is a new circular concrete shape being formed. The courtyard before the security plaza has seen trees planted in all four of the circular foundations formed into the courtyard. Closer to the ticketing plaza, a new garden has been planted inside of a blue concrete circle. Between the security plaza courtyard and the bus loop is yet another courtyard where a lot of palm trees have been planted all around this area. The pathway connecting this courtyard and the security plaza is beginning to be connected via a pathway now starting to be formed. As we make our way through the summer, we will get closer to gaining additional information about Epic Universe and the lands that make it up. This information will hopefully give us a timeline of when Universal expects Epic Universe will be open to the public. As always, a big thank you to BioReconstruct for the aerial views. And again, do not forget to subscribe so you do not miss the next Universal Epic Universe construction update. If you are curious about how Epic Universe compares to other theme parks around the country, be sure to watch this video next. Until next time, travelers, have a great one.